to Two Guys and a Girl podcast on the Semi-Pro Joes Network. I'm Mimi, your host A. To my left is Wally B. And to my right, the esteemed Big J.
Hi.
Esteemed, boy.
I like how she changes it up every week. See, that girl good, that girl talented.
Yeah. Variety is the spice of life.
She's going places.
For reals.
She's going places.
If TikTok is any indication, then
she's going places. The star over here.
Oh, stop.
The star is born.
No, we're not doing that this week.
No, she goes from 60 to 1,000 in a short week. It's crazy. Nah, we're just trying to catch up. We're trying to keep up with you.
Yeah, yo. She the Lil Nas X of massage therapist on TikTok.
Which is now it's almost like I don't even know if I'm going to be pursuing anything with like massage related, because looking at those videos, those don't get views. The ones that I'm doing with my new content get all the views.
No, I knew when I saw it, I was like, oh, she has something there, because like I said, it's plus your acting is really good in there. Like you legitly do a great job, and you get into it. A lot of it is you get into it. Like I couple more props. You know.
I'm not getting glasses.
Did I say glasses? I just said a couple more props, and then you'd be out in good money. I'm just saying, like, you know.
Anyway, so
and you let me direct you, and no. Go ahead.
And then we start a production company.
Okay, you're like that dude that's always in the movies about like music groups in the 50s that's hanging around.
It's like we're gonna make you rich.
I can be your manager.
Oh yeah,
let's make this money. Smoking a big ass cigar that he had for a whole week,
like a big old mustache.
Yeah,
or that dude that was in the NSYNC videos when the like no strings attached.
Oh yeah.
Yo, I definitely watched that video yesterday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so since they've kind of given you a preview of how my week has been this past week, Big J, how's your week been?
My week's been actually I hadn't even thought of it. Just mainly just trying to, get ready for the holidays, get ready. My mother's coming up.
Halloween.
My mother's coming up this month. I haven't seen her in like 2 years, so that's going to be pretty cool to be able to catch up with her.
Good.
Like I'm glad because like that means Thanksgiving is about to be lit.
Yeah.
Boy. Yeah. So I'm happy about that. I need to take off. I always forget to take off Fridays, like the day after Thanksgiving.
Oh God.
The day when the itis is at its worst.
Oh my God.
I'm so glad that I'm not subject to that anymore.
Oh my God. And every year I
must be
forget.
Nice.
Let me tell you. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
We were giving Mimi a hard time, but the one, and I talked to you a little bit before we got started on the pod. It is like we're not famous yet, but I don't know if you get it, Wally. But like, oh man, y'all love it, because one of our boys was like trying to hit me up talking about going bowling on some random day, and he's like talking, and he's like, yeah, hey, this, and like I don't know who it is because it's like the number I got.
Of course, you don't know who it is.
Yeah, because I don't have the number saved. But he's talking to me and he's saying names that I know. So I'm like, but this is strange. So I don't know who it is.
Oh, that just know who it is. That tells you enough, right?
Yeah. But then the next thing you know, he's like, I was like, who is this? You know who it is, sir. And he's like, oh, I know you're a movie star now, so you should go ahead and put it. I'm like, come on with this shit, man. Like, you pop off the grid for like months at a time and then pop back on the grid, and I'm supposed to just automatically know what number this is and everything that's going on. But it is crazy how it's like, I haven't changed. It's just I starting to feel like the people around me like start to view you different, even though you're not doing anything that you think is different. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like how people try to deal with you. And like I said, this is small. But I can understand how it's like where people are like, oh yeah, you went Hollywood. And they're like, no, I haven't gone Hollywood. Your perception of me is that I'm doing something way different than what I'm actually doing. Mm-hmm. Like, and you weren't there when it was when it wasn't looking like it was going to happen. You know what I'm saying?
When you're like part of a group of people that like in general is into and does more grounded things, just regular, you know what I mean? I mean, not regular, you know, everybody's doing something different, but like everybody like, you know, did the school they had to do and then like either got a job or did a little more school and got into something they wanted to do. You know what I mean? Most of us doing pretty well. You know what I mean? We got a few homeowners, all that stuff. People got kids and everything. We're going to talk about ADHD Awareness Month later on because I definitely just lost my train of thought. And I'm having a real rough day today. I don't know where the hell I was going with that.
We were talking about like how like people's perception based on like what you're doing changes. Like,
and you're talking about guys within our group.
Yeah, so like when you have a group of people that's like has this baseline, you know what I mean? Like they're all like kind of doing if you zoom out and think about big picture, they're all doing more or less the same thing. And what we're doing right here is just something totally out of left field, different. Something that when we were growing up, the only way you could do something like this is if you like got in with somebody, you know what I mean? You knew somebody, went to school, studied, you know, did well and got yourself onto like a TV set and stuff like that. Right. You know what I mean? That's just part of like the general psyche, I think, for people our age. So like when the perception is definitely going to be a whole lot different. And sometimes like, you know, people ain't always going to be, they're not always going to see that.
Yeah. I mean, when I was doing commercials, that made sense.
Here you go.
This guy.
But now it's like I'm doing like not everybody can be on a Comcast commercial, but like
we need to keep a scoreboard somewhere.
Yeah.
Every time he mentions it, just but another hash on the scoreboard every time.
but when you're talking about doing this, it's like there are tutorial videos. Like there's a path to doing this. You said, the barrier of entry isn't the same.
Not at all.
So it makes it weird when people start saying, I'm like, well, I'm thinking if you have an idea, you have a thought, and that's with anything, you can put there to use, like you can research it. So it's just funny when people try to, you know, act like I just committed in a way you didn't. Like if you wanted to do this, you could. But it's just funny like when people start trying to treat you a little different. Like I find it annoying. Mimi's like, you know, whatevs. But like, you know, but for me, I'm just like, it's just, I just wish that it wasn't, you know, a thing of like, because I'm still myself.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Like I personally, I'll take stuff like that. I'll take the good out of it. And to me, it's a compliment because if they're thinking in that way, the thing that they're thinking is like, wow, this looks like really good. Like they must got like a lot of good equipment or be in a nice studio and all that. And like, you know, that's an iPhone SE.
There's tutorials. Like everyone can know. If you get on and look and see like, hey, you don't have to have like grade A stuff to make grade A product.
No, you're right. So it's just funny how that, you know, works out. But how about you? How was your week, Wally?
It was cool. You know, the gray. I'm still under the gray cloud, trying to come up out of that joint before we go into the winter where there's nothing but gray clouds.
Yeah.
But I got some good news from the doctor and everything because I ain't been to like a general practitioner or anything in like way too long, and I finally did it, and we cool. I just gotta like take some vitamin D so I don't get sad in the winter. Yes,
nice, and that's good. Like that's great. Like to know that, you know, overall, generally speaking, you got a clean bill of health, and you're right. Like my sister actually suffers from seasonal affective disorder. And so that's the thing that one of her doctors like, hey, bump up your vitamin D, you know, when you can, try and get outside, get some sunlight, you know. So it's not fun, and I'm sorry that you and people like you have to deal with that. I mean, I think we all to a point kind of get affected from it.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
Folks who get really affected from it, like my heart goes out to you guys because it's like bleh. It can't be fun.
It's not, but you know, we managing, you know, everything's cool. So, you know, that was like, you know, during my weeks, and maybe it's a little different from y'all because like y'all go into work and see your coworkers and managers and clients and all this stuff. And like, I do none of that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like a lot of my week is like pretty uneventful usually. I don't really see anybody. I don't talk to that many people. I'm fine and everything. I like it that way, but like it's usually a little uneventful because of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy. It's it's like how people say like when you breathing oxygen or air like kills you slowly or whatever. Being around people, like I didn't realize till like quarantine, I need to be around people in order to kind of remain sane. Because you remember, I was like, I was like a feral animal coming back. I was like, I couldn't, because I had been alone for 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Where it was like, I need to be around people. So even if it's not safe, and even if I was actually losing money coming in. Like I could have stayed at home making more money than what we were making at that time because we would get paid by the client or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, so on unemployment, since people were scared coming in, rightfully so. But like, I was like, I need to be around people. I need a routine, or else this is not going to work. Yeah. Then I got around people for a year, and I was like, fuck, I need to get away from people because people are getting on my nerves and they're nuts. But like, you kind of need a little bit. Like Mimi's always saying, you need a healthy balance, and finding that healthy balance between being around people a lot and kind of being to yourself. For somebody who's introverted like me is also a little difficult. I still, even as an adult,
always going to lean towards like more alone time.
Yeah,
and it's really about balancing how much of that you really like can handle without going crazy for real.
Right.
Yeah, and that's difficult, and it's something to always like because at certain points in your life you'll need more of one than the other, and trying to adjust the sliders is always a little interesting.
Yeah.
Other than being a TikTok star, is that all your week was about?
Well, I got to go and visit my dad and my stepmom yesterday, so that was fun. We got to spend the day together. That was nice. Because I don't get to see them quite as often as I would like. Well, I mean, nowadays, especially because of COVID and the fact that, you know, we got this thing going on now every week. I'm of my family, I'm the only one like down here in this immediate area. Everyone else is like up in various parts of like North Virginia and West Virginia. So it's a bit of a hike for people sometimes to come see me or for me to go see them. So it's always nice when I can go back and you know, see people and, you know, spend some time and just reconnect. It's really nice.
So they're doing good?
Yeah, everyone's doing great. Everyone's off, you know, doing their own thing. My dad actually is at the moment, like I can't go into detail, but he's currently pulling jury duty. And it's
the Scranton Strangler.
It's not a good time. He's not liking it at all. So he's like,
nobody likes jury
He's
duty.
like, I know he would very much rather just love to just go back to work rather than be doing jury duty. So I'm sure he's anxious for that to be over soon.
Have you been called into jury duty?
I almost don't want to talk about it.
Okay, no, not on serving, but like called in. Like we need you to come in and report. And
like
go.
I said, I almost don't want to talk about it.
Okay,
because I haven't. Like I've never been called up for jury duty or anything like that.
Yeah, like at all. Like there was one time where like I got a letter. But like because of it was when I was in college, and like because of the logistics of things, they like took my name off the list. I was in Salisbury.
No, because the only reason why I asked is because we would have went to the same place.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
I've heard the stories.
Have you served on a jury before?
I know I've been called in twice though.
Oh,
I haven't. You know,
that's like a lottery you don't want to win.
Nah.
But like it's even worse when you get called in and I've never seen the judge. So what I've never actually. So here's how they have it set up is, and I know we didn't, jury duty was not a topic. You know how riveting. The conversation is like, okay, everybody gets a card. A card represents a case. 60 people per. So one time I had a yellow card. By lunchtime, they were like, okay, everybody with a yellow card, go home, because they settle. Yeah. Because that's usually when you have jury, like part of the thing about jury duty is once the jury comes, it puts pressure on the defense or the prosecution to either wrap up the case or because then shit gets real. Because once they start selecting jurors, that means that the trial is going forward, and so you can't make a deal. You have to make decisions.
Right.
And then one time, that last time I went, they were like, I didn't get any card. So that means I wasn't assigned to any trial. So I was just alternate.
Yeah, you were
So
just
I
there
had
just
to
in case.
wait until like longer than before, and then eventually they ended up saying, "Okay, all alternates can go home, but you can't leave early, or else you don't get credit." Yeah, it's a whole thing. Yeah, it's annoying as shit. I almost want to be like, I'm physically disabled, so I don't want to do it like I almost want to do it like that.
Or just be like, guilty. They're guilty. They did it.
Or like, oh yeah.
Like, you don't know what I don't care. They did it.
Okay, sir.
Bye.
Or say something. I don't know. I don't want to be insensitive, but you know how people throw out stuff that didn't happen to them, but like make them biased towards where they have to go. Yeah, I was want to do that, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean actually it's actually kind of convenient that we popped onto this because it leads us beautifully into our real first topic of the day, which is
Robert Kelly.
Yes, or as most of folks who look like me know him as R. Kelly.
I mean, everybody knows him as R. Kelly.
But no one would have known him as Robert Kelly. If you'd said, we're going to talk about Robert Kelly, to be like, who that?
For maybe the first 15 years of him being around, I didn't know his first name was Robert either. Yeah. Matter of fact, when Gayle King kept calling him Robert,
who are you talking about? Who is this person, Robert?
Now, Robert, and I was just like, Robert, like why she keep calling him Robert?
Yeah, she really got up under his skin, yo.
Yeah, no, you could tell it was on purpose because she's been called R for like 25 years. Yeah. So when she kept calling him Robert, like it was
physically twitching.
Like that was one of those situations where like if you're the journalist, you're the person interviewing, doing a one-on-one thing, like a lot of times with a story like this, you already know what the sound bites that you want are going to sound like once you get them. You just have to actually get them. You know what I'm saying? So like she just got him to a point where like he was boxed in, nowhere to go, and he just started going crazy. And that was part of it. Like, he felt like she was belittling him because like she wasn't. He did it to himself. He already felt small, and that was just like a foot coming down on top of his head over and over.
Oh no,
again.
it was masterful. It was like a chef's kiss because like her colleagues were like, "Were you afraid? He seems like a very tall man." And she's like, "He's not that tall."
Chilling.
She's like, "He's not that tall. He's like 6'1". And
she's got like a spine of steel. Like,
She's like, yeah. She even talked about him in a dismissive tone. Like, I think I was more worried about him like accidentally spitting on me because of how like animated he was. But like he wasn't
killing me with this shit.
Yeah, doing all that. Yeah. See, they saw that and they were like, "Oh, angry black man," you know, a little bit. Like for her, she was just like, "Yeah, he was just being emotional, whatever." Like
bitch ass nigga.
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry.
Anyway, so specifically, okay, as it pertains to the relevant current situation that Mr. Kelly has found himself. I'm
making
good.
Everything neat.
I'm good. It's just this is just my anxiety coming
safety.
out.
Okay.
I'm good.
Safety.
No, we're good.
It's gonna be all right.
It's good.
We want to meditate real quick.
I just never seen you do that. I've never seen her like clear out space. It was almost like cleansing the palate.
That's right. Wiping away the energy. As we're talking about like the newest developments of what's going on with him right now. I'm gonna let y'all cook on this one. And I want to sit back and I'm just gonna listen and observe.
He was found guilty of racketeering and the Mann Act charges this week.
He violated the entire Mann Act, every single part of it.
Yes,
apparently, right?
Yeah. So this is and Wally, me and you probably may differ on this. I don't know, but when it comes down to him, it's tough because it's not tough in that what he did wasn't heinous. Everybody agrees, but it's tough because it feels weird because everybody in our community has known about him since the late 90s. It's not like he was moving in a way that people didn't get what was going on with him. Yeah. It was so known that he was getting parodied by Dave Chappelle on the Chappelle Show
Back in 2004.
Yeah, it was that well known about what he was up to and the weird kind of stuff he was doing. It was almost like he was so guilty he was hiding in plain sight. Yeah. And it really, there's been a lot, I've been watching this week. There's been a lot of pats on the back or we got 'ems, and it's like, well, time out for a second. It's not we got him. It's we started getting serious about women. We started getting serious about how we treat not just women, but Black women.
Like this Me Too movement happened for a reason.
Yeah.
And like now that we're like into it, like women are demanding their respect. And like we have no choice but to give it to them because they deserve it.
Yeah, and I'm not encroaching on that.
As the woman in the group, I can't argue that.
But not encroaching on that. But also, and I think I was talking to Mimi about this earlier this week. Stop me when you hear entertainer, musician messes with young girl. That's not new.
Mm-mm.
That's
no. Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, and
tale as old as time.
And I think that's where it gets weird because I don't think he felt out of place in what he was doing. Partly because I don't think he thought he's not the only one doing it or has done it.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
That's
kind of, I'm glad the culture's being cleaned up in that way. But I'm not going to lie, people, I'm still going to listen to my R. Kelly. Like, if I'm not going to get up and turn it if it comes on. Like, Ignition still goes. Like, Step in the Name of Love still goes. So if that's not what other people choose to listen to, hey, I can't control what's in your Serato. You know what I'm saying? But
fancy.
But like, if I'm going to listen to, like, if I Believe I Can Fly comes on, that's not getting turned off.
Yeah.
Because I knew when some of these records came out, I knew he was weird. I knew he was into terrible stuff. I knew he was doing terrible things. That did not ruin my enjoyment of the music.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Separating art from artist is doing that precisely. Is the art is great, but the person is really terrible. And stop me if you've heard something, if you hearing me speak out of turn there too, because that's kind of what those two don't have to go hand in hand, but it's not unusual for those two to go hand in hand, where the artist is a very flawed person, but the art is pretty good.
When you talk about whether you're going to like listen to this person's music or watch the actor's movies or anything, like, I mean, basically, like, that's your prerogative. You know what I'm saying? You do what you want, and like nobody's opinion of what you doing in your headphones should really, like, you know what I'm saying?
Speaking of commenting on,
my bad.
No, you're good.
I mean, your shoulder's comfy, but I was trying to.
No, you're good.
I was trying to reach for my pen.
It wasn't like, what is she doing? It wasn't. I wasn't sure what was happening, but I wasn't like, this needs to stop now.
I didn't realize that I had to reach so far down to the floor.
Yeah, that's why I was confused. I'm like, what's, is she okay? Like, and then I was like, because that's not you.
No,
Yeah.
Like, oh, look, she's getting comfy.
Yeah. Like, that's.
Are you puzzled?
Sorry.
No, you're good. And I think I said this before the pod, is like, I do wonder what other people are going to now if this is just going to just land on him, because this, by charging him with RICO, is a very new thing to do, and it sets up a precedent to say, all right, if even people's handlers, people who are involved with these sort of sexual acts, now that this has been set, now you're going to be in a position where it's going to be harder for this predatory behavior to continue and exist. So now I'm wondering, are other people in trouble? Or, that are in the industry, in all these industries?
I think that goes without saying.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of who's next. It's not a matter of when, it's just a matter of who's next.
Because what was T.I. in the news for not this, but something along the lines of weird people and their weird sexual behavior.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, when it comes down to this, because and here's where I don't know where this line is, and everybody has to draw their own. if I am a star, if I have a lot of money, I have a lot of resources. I have a lot of resources to get a thing that I want. I guess if you do that within the scope of the law, that's cool. But I don't know, like, you can make a lot happen based off of money and access. So when that bumps up against the law and when that doesn't, I don't know. Like, because with R. Kelly, the underage girl stuff is going to be the thing that everybody climbs onto, but they weren't all underage. Some of these were grown women deciding to go live with him in his house and, you know, do all the rest of that stuff. So it's going to be weird. Like I said, that's where the line gets fuzzy between, you know, Mann Act and all the rest of these things is people with a lot of money and resources have the ability to do things that the rest of us don't.
And that's exactly what the entire RICO charge is for. Exactly all the things that you just said, because everything that you just said, like, is a damn problem. You know what I'm saying? And like previously, there weren't any ways to tackle that as an entire problem. You know, you could get all the underlings and make your way up towards the top of the chain, but you know, this racketeering charge covers basically organized crime. It's taking the entire organization of it all. And from what we know about R. Kelly, he did this to a lot of people. You know what I'm saying? He did it to underage girls. Like you said, there were some grown women, some who may have made the decision to go like there with him, but he was still abusive to them. You know what I'm saying? And it was a whole network of people. He would have people doing stuff from him, picking people up, just making sure everything was cool and nobody had eyes on him. Like, it was an entire operation, and like that was the point of it all. Like an organized operation whose prime objective is committing heinous crimes needs to be prosecuted, and this is just an example of that.
Yeah,
like whether you separate what R. Kelly actually did from the fact that he had a network of goons, like, to feed his whatever the hell's going on in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I'm like I said, I have no problem with them using RICO this way. I have no problem with him going down. It's long past due. It's just I'm curious to see where it falls next.
Yeah, because, I got my popcorn out, yo.
Yeah, because you know there's a lot of names out there that have whispers of stuff going on that's indecent. So, like I said,
and stuff like that. There's a lot of people who like are just have a. You know, that whole, like, it's like a TV trope. It'd be the old guy in his 40s or 50s that's always got like a 20 or 21-year-old girl around him. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he's just like a sleaze bag and is always having fun and getting drunk and moving on to the next one. But like the thing they don't talk about is like that person is a manipulator, right? They're usually like manipulating these young green girls into doing the things that he wants them to do so he can live his life the way he wants to live it, right?
I would say the manipulation works both ways. I would say that, yes, the girl, I think the thing of what's going on now, and I think we may have talked about this on the podcast, the Instagram stuff about, you know, if you want some attention, if you want me to, you know, come up off of some money, women are now being indoctrinated. And then you listen to the music.
We first off, we talking about like we talking about the age difference though. Like
yeah,
what you're saying,
I'm
what
not saying the girls,
to,
but I'm not saying these girls don't. I'm saying the girls are some, not all. Some are like, all right, I want a rich man.
Well, in that case,
I want that money. I want that bag.
Yeah.
I'm in search of the bag.
In that sense, that's different.
Yeah, what we're saying is like the specific thing here is the age difference. Like it's not that it's a man and a woman like wanting something she's going to take. It's about the man already being in a position where I've already lived all this life. I'm trying to have fun. I'm down for it anyway. But he's way more experienced than some 20-year-old girl. You know what I'm saying? So like his point of like moving from one to the other and just having all these young girls around him all the time.
Like R. Kelly?
Like, yeah.
I'm talking like this is specifically like older guys and younger women. Like it's set up that way so they can have the control over the situation because they already know like everything that's going to happen within this interaction. They already know how it's going to go. You know what I'm saying? And like that's their way of controlling the situation and keeping it the way they want it, so they can just do whatever.
I think I think that happens. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. I'm also saying it. Some are going into it like this. I'm going to the bag,
right? And those in particular, in my opinion, are kind of, though legally they may not be exempt from this, but like if you went into it and it was consensual and you had an idea of like, okay, he's got money, he's got power, I want that. I'm gonna go do what I need to do to get that. That group is different.
Because if you grew up on Beyonce,
that's different.
The girl
can
is
you pay
different,
my bills,
and the
can
guy
you
is
pay,
also
you know?
different.
Not them. Not
But
them.
see, but
not them.
but we don't want to lump just all young girls are naive because that's not true.
Oh no. We talking specifically about this dynamic. Like
The
R.
ones who
Kelly
get
was
groomed
abusing,
for this.
he's grooming and abusing young and underage girls. We talking about older guys that go after younger girls specifically because they're malleable, and he can like make them do what he wants them to do, basically. You know what I'm saying? And that's how you get, you know, these stories. Like you'll hear a woman on TV talking about an abusive relationship with an older guy and how like she just let him hit her and do and say all this nasty stuff to her because in her mind she believed that like he was like teaching her life lessons or whatever it was, whatever he manipulated her into thinking about the situation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it's not like all women going into this situation not having an idea of what they're getting themselves into, but it's the fact that the majority of them had no idea what was in store for them. And probably got to a point where because of the network surrounding, like not just like you were saying with like the stereotype, like sleazy guy, it's never just the one guy.
Right.
Like you had said, he's got there's a whole network of people around men and sometimes women, but a lot of times men like them who can't do all of that by themselves. They can't maintain that lifestyle on their own. So they've got different levels of handlers of people who are either taking these young impressionable people and either making them like reinforcing the idea of, oh no, this is something that you want. This is a lifestyle where you can have whatever you want as long as you do A, B, and C. You know, you'll be taken care of as long as you don't talk to anybody about what we're doing and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And so it's not just the person individually doing this, the perpetrator. It's all of the people that they've surrounded themselves with that basically cultivate this toxic, manipulative, like society within society.
And this is also like what we've been talking about is like R. Kelly and people of high profile status like that. But this goes all the way down to the bottom. This also goes all the way down to like the groups of regular dudes going to the club and groups of like 4 or 5
and gathering.
And all
these
of them
people
have on the
anyway.
same mindset. Like we see a girl acting out of turn or like she's like out of her mind a little bit, but is still trying to have fun. And we're gonna like prey on that. You know what I'm saying? Like the regular guys. Yeah, it happens all the time, and like it's R. Kelly being hit with this charge and the way that he's being hit with it is like it definitely sets a precedent. You know what I'm saying? Like from top to bottom, I think.
And just to close the point, to circle back, you said about it's not so much the girls. Actually, it got nasty because some of these younger girls, their friends were involved with him, and then they would recruit these girls. Yeah. So then it wasn't just he was leveraging his celebrity; he was leveraging their relationships with their friends. Yep. Yeah. And when, like you said, when girls are that young, they're very impressionable. Like if their friends okay, and she seems like she's living a good life, then let me go. Why I should not go? And see, that becomes a little bit even more of a thing where it's like, oh man, like this is this was where it's a terrible cycle that keeps enforcing itself on on each other. So hopefully the girls heal.
Yes.
And hopefully this, like you said, setting a precedent is a great word to say for this. Hopefully this cleans up some of the industry. Like what's been slightly going on in general, but like just like I always I remember I was saying this, maybe I said this on the pod once, is that leaving your paragraph. Like the story is never complete, but
Right.
hopefully this generation's paragraph was a little longer than the one before it. And then, then you leave the comment for the next one to keep pushing the ball down the court.
Yep.
Exactly. So, and it also kind of ties back into like what you and I were talking about in the break room the other day, because the idea of, and yes, you were like, oh, it's just semantics. It's just, it's the same thing. Where we were talking about the difference between guidance and manipulation. Because like how, we had mentioned how like some of these girls were, had been cultivated into this lifestyle by their friends. And because, some of these women who may have ended up profiting from this lifestyle and actually enjoying their situation and whatever, like, someone would make the argument like, well, I don't know why people are making such a big deal. Like, I didn't feel manipulated. He was guiding me into this like great lifestyle.
I don't know if we were
blah,
talking
blah, blah.
necessarily about R. Kelly.
Not
though.
specifically about R. Kelly.
Yeah,
You
I
were-
just
you
wanted
were-
because the
No,
conversation is being framed in a way that I'm not real
In relation-
comfortable with.
No.
And I'm like, wait.
No.
Okay.
Like when
That
you and
setup
I
was
were
crazy.
No, sorry. Like in relation to how we were talking about right now is different than what
Yeah,
you were
that
talking
would've sucked.
But when you and I were talking about it, you were of the opinion, the way I understood it, that, guidance and manipulation are in essence the same thing.
What I was saying.
Did I misunderstand you?
So, okay. What I was saying was.
Again, not in relation to the R. Kelly thing.
Not at
Totally
all.
separate.
What I was,
unrelated.
I think what I was saying to you was that manipulation is not always a negative thing. I think you were treating manipulation as a negative term in its application and use, right? Am I mischaracterizing you?
No, as a general understanding of the word manipulation as compared to guidance, for me, and
You were saying that
It's-
guidance is good and manipulation is bad.
because of the intent behind them. Like essentially, they are the
Assumed intent.
like the essence of them are the same thing. It's to
like
make
guiding
someone
and
else
manipulating
do something
something.
else. But the intention behind guiding somebody compared to manipulating somebody, that's what makes it essentially kind of quote unquote good compared to quote unquote bad.
Can I ask both of you a question? Have you ever been to a magic show? Either one of you?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're being manipulated for entertainment.
Yeah.
Magic is not real. You're being manipulated into believing that magic is real, and you're allowing yourself to be manipulated for entertainment purposes.
Right.
That's not guidance. That's being manipulated. And then,
Right.
and that's why I'm saying this being manipulated is not necessarily a bad term. It depends on how the application
Mimi
is.
said the intent behind it, right?
Yeah, it's about-
often the intent behind manipulation is self-gain.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when you talk about
Often
a magician,
and not always.
a magician is manipulating his audience into thinking what he's doing is real for the money he's getting from them ticket sales or whatever it is.
But
right?
the audience is coming because they want to be entertained.
Right. Because
Right.
they're
There's a-
suspending their disbelief of magic, not being real.
And if the
Right.
show is good, the better the manipulation, the
Yeah.
more entertaining the show.
right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like this, and that's kind of what because I wanted to. Only reason why I did it in that abstract way is because I wanted to take it out of relationships because that can get messy and how you choose to do it. But I was strictly saying that the word manipulate is not inherently evil or terrible.
no, it's not.
Because people get hypnotized. That's manipulation.
Yeah, but then like what is the real point of like, unless you're just talking about dictionary definitions of words, of like really separating those two things? Because like when we're talking about manipulation, we're often gonna be talking about people manipulating other people.
Right,
And when
and
it
that's
comes
not
to
a
that,
terrible
like
thing.
you know what I'm saying? Like if you separate the definition from the word in that way, it doesn't like make sense anymore because that's not actually what's happening. Like what's happening is negative.
right.
Like
Not
it
always.
is.
Not
Well,
always.
How about I consult something really quick? My Blue Book of Wisdom.
All right, go ahead.
Real quick though, the magician thing, that's what I was about to say. Like, and like on the surface, right? Magician doing a show, doing tricks, not bad, right?
Right.
But if we know anything about like magicians and the way things were, like back in the day, pre-internet, like widespread mass communication and knowledge and stuff like that, magicians' things were to really, really, really make their audiences believe that what they were doing was real. Like really believe that stuff. So like also like a magician now ain't really like, they don't hold the same place as they used to before.
They are for entertainment,
But
and it's
tell you how to-
understood
Before
for
the New
entertainment.
World Order came about.
If I show you how the magic works, then yeah, it's like people used to believe wrestling was real until they were told.
That's what I'm saying,
they
it's a
were let-
different world, yeah.
They were let behind. But see, some people may say, okay, that's better. That's a more honest approach. But others may say, well, damn it, then you're ruining the whole thing than what we were trying to do. Like if their goal is to entertain, because that's really what it is. It's entertainment. If you make it about manipulation in that sense.
Yeah.
But before you get to your magic book for a second, and I'll go out on the limb and I'll make my point, and people can disagree. I don't necessarily believe that being someone manipulating you is a bad thing in a relationship, and the reason why I believe that is like goes to what you guys have been saying, is the intent of the manipulation. If someone is not going to arrive at a destination to eat better by themselves, and you're trying to manipulate them to eat better, that's not a terrible thing. If it's
also guidance.
And that's also not the way that you would
That's
organically
guidance.
speak that to your partner. You're not going to say, I simply want to manipulate you into good health.
Then that's me telling you. That's me telling you how the magic works, and that's of course no one's going to be happy if you tell me that this is not real. Like, yeah, like I said, everybody's it's everybody's idea of a healthy thing.
Yeah,
is different. Maybe that's what we're actually having the conversation about, which is fine. I have no problem I have no problem being manipulated if the manipulation turns into something good. Hey, not all guidance is good. Somebody can guide you off a damn cliff.
Yeah, you're right.
That's true. That's true.
And this is why I don't like making
But
words.
if their intent was to guide you off a cliff, then they were manipulating you into jumping off that cliff.
Yeah, but now we're using these. I just don't want to make these terms good or bad.
But they are when
And
you're talking about
speaking-
people. That's what I'm saying. Like manipulation, the word manipulation, like you go to work and like you manipulate the position of people's muscles and bones and tendons and shit to make them feel better.
That's a different form of
But-
manipulation.
but-
But the thing is,
That's physical, you know what I'm saying?
Gaslighting
Yeah.
is negative form of manipulation. There's
Yes.
no way you can dress up gaslighting to
No.
say I positively gaslighted
No.
somebody.
Not at all.
See, that's
Not
not
at all.
what I'm doing. And I hear that people in the audience would be like,
No, I
he's
think
trying to
that-
make manipulate. He's trying to.
I think you might just be
gaslight."
thinking a little bit too deep into like what manipulation actually means, because I kind of
think
hear what
some of
you're
y'all are
saying.
doing that.
But I think that like at the point where you decide that like, you know, this thing that's happening is someone being manipulated and also good, is the point where we say, okay, that turns from manipulation to guidance at the point that they had good intentions
Right.
for this person going forward. Like,
And it's not to say that, again, it's not to say that because like what you're trying to do is you're trying to do an all or nothing in this case, where it's like every single time guidance is good, every single time manipulation is bad. And what
I feel
and
like you're doing that
And
too.
all I'm personally am saying is, generally speaking, the general understanding of what this word means compared to what this word means are two different things. It's the same
Right,
thing
right.
like the example I gave you about what something smells like. You can describe it as a scent, which normally has a more lighter, better, positive connotation to odor.
like imagine
It's
if
the same thing, but they're totally different in the sense of how you approach these things based on what they're called. No one ever says the odor of that rose is amazing.
imagine
The scent of that skunk is just titillating. I love it.
Yeah,
You know, it's words and their meaning naturally aren't all across the board 100% of the time going to mean down the board. You can't switch them. But generally speaking, we have such a variety of words for different reasons, for lots of different meanings.
they have to like they go along with the context they're placed in. Like
Right. So, like in the dictionary, at least, if we're talking strictly speaking with dictionary, the word guidance means advice or information aimed at resolving a problem or difficulty. So, generally, a positive, constructive
I didn't
sort
hear
of idea.
positive in there. I didn't hear positive.
At resolving a problem or a difficulty.
Resolving a problem, like I said, but you're adding a good spin to it. Like you're saying positive.
I mean,
and good.
is a problem a positive thing?
It's-
A problem is something that needs to be resolved.
Well, all right,
Go ahead.
All right, then let me throw this at you, because I found in the same source two different definitions of the word manipulation, but there's one word in particular that binds them together that I found interesting.
Okay.
The first definition is to handle or control in a skillful manner. The second definition is to control or influence a person or situation cleverly, unfairly, or dishonestly.
Mm-hmm.
What's the binding word between those two definitions?
Control.
Where you don't necessarily have that in a guidance or a teaching moment. It's not about control. Many times manipulation is rooted deeply in one's need to control, not necessarily for the benefit of the person who's receiving the manipulation, but for oneself. That's all I'm saying. Guidance more times is about the betterment of a group.
Right.
And manipulation many times is about the betterment of the self.
Oh, you want to tie it to real life?
Preferably.
Your real life? So, like, the difference between someone as a massage therapist guiding someone else to a more pain-free life and manipulating them is their mindset, right? Because you can go into your job every day and be like, I'm here to help my clients, just like you two, you know what I mean? Like, you're there to like provide a good service and make somebody's life better, you know what I'm saying? Make them feel better. But then there may be someone that comes into work and is doing all those things on the face of it, but in his head, he's still some real dirty shit, you know what I'm saying? And like, somebody finds out about like his dirty intentions because of something he did or said in a session. And now all of a sudden he's been manipulating all his clients into like giving him something that he wanted without them like knowing it. You know what I mean? Like, it's deceptive. It was like crafted in a way where only he really knew about it for the longest time. You know what I'm saying? I know I keep saying he, and that might be a problem, but that's what I'm saying. Like, at a certain point, like, it is the attention. It's the attention behind it that really separates the two.
Yeah.
Someone's always in control. Someone's always in charge.
And
I mean, like at the end of the day, like, and like I said, this could just be as simple as what I said before. Everybody's definitions of what something is healthy is a little different, and what works for them is a little different. And that just may be where we just differ.
Maybe. Though I would find it interesting to do a social experiment where you, in an applicable setting, used both of those concepts and see what your general reaction to those concepts would be.
I think it's also dangerous if you don't know that you're being manipulated, or if you don't go along with it.
That's usually why it's classified as manipulation.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, sometimes, but some other times you can be like, you can kind of know, like, all this really started is I was like, I would never, because we were talking about someone else. We were talking about somebody. I was like, man, he was going to the grocery store with his girl. I wouldn't want to go to the grocery store with my girl if I lived with her, because I wouldn't want her trying to manipulate me into getting like the healthy stuff. And see, and that's what
that was my face. That was my face right there.
And I was like, I don't want to get the organic pears if I like my other pears that I like to normally. That was what I was saying. And then she said, well, that's not manipulating you. That's guiding you into better food choices. And then that's where I felt like we were playing the word game.
Your perception is not always reality. Ever had a conversation before? Like, what you perceive, like, although it may feel like completely real, is not necessarily the actual reality around you, right?
Okay.
So, like, in your world, her getting you to eat the organic pears and the healthy food and everything is like a negative, right? Because, like, I don't want to do that shit, and she's trying to make me do it. She's trying to manipulate me into doing it. But on her end, like, she knows that, like, eating healthy is better for you because duh. And she just wants you to make a few more healthy choices. So she's trying to guide you down that path. Now there's a huge miscommunication because you two think the situation is two different things. One thinks it's guidance. One thinks it's manipulation.
Because she can go to force those pears down your throat.
Who's right? Who's right in this situation? Like, who's right about their mindset?
I don't know.
I would say the girlfriend is right because all she's trying to do is get this motherfucker to eat healthy. which is duh. You should be eating healthy if you want to stay alive longer. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes your perception is not always reality.
My body, my choice.
Fine.
Man, that was a Matumbo swat right there.
Fine. Rolling into other issues with personal bodies, Wally. Let's discuss your trials and tribulations this week, darling.
So this month is ADHD Awareness Month. And I know ADHD is a 4-letter acronym that a lot of people see thrown around and used. When, we're all in our 30s and we were younger, like that term, that disorder meant something a little bit different to the general populace than what we understand it to be now, especially after it's kind of like made waves across the internet, because folks who have ADHD, like me, we have a lot of issues that affect us really, really deeply that are common things that everybody deals with, right? So just to kind of like, I guess this is an awareness session, right?
Yeah, sure.
ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. Back in the day, they used to like classify kids who were always hyper in class and couldn't listen and sit still and all that stuff, and give them drugs and they'll calm down and all that. But what the actual disorder is, people with ADHD have trouble regulating their executive brain functions. So executive functions being stuff like keeping focus, paying attention, prioritizing tasks, but then also like regulating your emotions in heightened states. And those are the kinds of things that, like, when you hear someone talk about the trouble they're having with their ADHD and someone responds with, oh, I do that too. Like, I have that trouble too. That's like part of the major thing that like causes the misunderstandings. Like people think that like the folks with it are just kind of like lying or lazy, or, they're just unmotivated and stuff like that, when it's like really a lot of times out of our control. It's important to know certain things, like when you're in close quarters with somebody, like you live with somebody who's got ADHD and has trouble with a lot of these things. Just because I'm rambling now, yo.
No, it's
fine. I'm trying to figure out where I was trying to go.
ADHD.
Yeah. Like it's the reason we're on this is because like when I get up to come here on Sunday mornings, I always have trouble getting here. I have trouble prioritizing tasks in my mind, right? And I'm jumping from here to here to here, trying to do 4, 5, 6 different things at one time. 2 or 3 of those things, probably something I should have done the night before, but forgot. You know what I'm saying? And I ended up getting here like an hour late or something like that. Excuse me. One of the major things that everybody's talking about right now is that old stigma of ADHD being overdiagnosed. That was the opinion for a long time. Like, it's not even a real disorder. It's being overdiagnosed. But what I came to find out is that is true, but only really if you think about the way that like Americans in general like think about the country. It's white, right? It's a lot of white people, and what was happening was white men, white boys specifically, were getting overdiagnosed in really, really, really high numbers, but everybody else was being severely underdiagnosed because they would only really read like a hyper little boy that can't keep still as attention deficit disorder, when the attention deficit part is like the important one. You know what I'm saying? There's 3 different types of the disorder. They call them, inattentive, which is one I'm about to talk about in a second because I think I'm primarily inattentive. They got the hyperactive, which is what everybody really understands. And then there's combined type where, those folks kind of like dip into one part or the other depending on the day. The inattentive type, though, the usually introverted, quiet daydreamer, off in the stars, they usually refer to them as space cadets. You know what I mean? Those kind of people who get written off as being like lazy, unmotivated, just up in the stars, not paying attention to anything. In terms of the people that end up getting diagnosed with it, that inattentive one is something that a lot of people ignored.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So like growing up, I always had like really good grades. I was always really quiet in class. I was not disruptive at all. But like around fifth, sixth grade, my grades started to plummet. You know what I'm saying? And like it's because with this condition, usually around that age is when you start to manifest some of the, issues with focus and, inattentiveness and all that kind of stuff. But that's also around the age boys go into puberty where they're doing all that stuff anyway.
Right.
So if you're not having trouble in school or anything like that, it can be really, really hard to catch. And like for a lot of people like me, and specifically Black women who are always ignored when it comes to like health stuff. Mm-hmm. Like I follow so many like Black women on Twitter who like tweet about this kind of stuff, and it's like a whole little community because a lot of them who are inattentive type just got looked over because they're always like good at all the stuff they were doing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Some people just, when you're an introverted type of person, you don't like show it on the outside as often, so people can't see it. And that goes for like your friends, your teachers, your parents. Mm-hmm. And none of them are really to blame either, because like how can you really differentiate those kind of things if you're not inside that person's head?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because you're not
a squeaky wheel.
Right.
You're not the one
bouncing off the walls causing
disruption
or getting attention. So it's easy.
It makes sense that it's easy to be overlooked if you're not really rocking the boat.
It's
like you just nobody can really tell.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And
the other thing I wanted to get to was like the fact that the condition usually comes with some comorbidities. You know what I mean? Primarily stuff like anxiety, depression, OCD, and a few others.
Mm-hmm.
As far as I understand, most people that have attention deficit disorder deal with one of those things. Mine is anxiety. And it's weird the way they play off each other, just to kind of like bring folks into my head.
I'll have a day where like I said, when I get up for work, which, if anybody out there is listening and has ADHD knows that this is not really a good routine to have, me getting up and just kind of and then roll into my desk when I feel like it after doing whatever I need to do. I'll sit down at my desk, have like 4 or 5 things to do before a certain time, and I'll like bounce between them. Bouncing around like that, not being able to kind of like control that and rein that in, mm-hmm. The longer I go through the day, the more behind I get on my actual work.
Right.
And so the higher my anxiety is, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And then that makes everything like super fuzzy, and I end up not being able to do anything. So there's some nights of the week where like I'll get off work at 5:00 and then like go chill out and calm down somewhere and just do a few things like later on in the night or something like that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's sometimes a rough life to live, but I feel like it's important to kind of just give some folks some info about it, because it's a term that people are like, oh, I'm ADHD as shit. You know what I'm saying? Like people mm-hmm. say that all the time and don't really like know what it means and don't really know the struggle. So, mm-hmm. I just wanted to shine some light on that today.
Yeah. Because I'm sure there's someone, like, there's probably lots of people in your life out there, like, someone who has it. And the thing is, like, for folks who maybe don't have a diagnosis and who maybe don't think that, oh, well, my problem isn't that bad, I don't need to go see somebody and talk about it and deal with it. Like, just because you may not have severe cases of it, that's no reason to not go and try and find someone who can help you with it, because any chance that you can improve your life situation and try and help get a grip on the stuff that is a struggle for you, it's always good to try and get a hold of the tools that you can use to be successful and to help kind of manage your issues better, so you don't go into a tailspin.
That's why this internet stuff has been really, really helpful for folks lately, especially this year. I don't know. This year has been like a real boom in popularity and like these kind of videos and Twitter posts and Twitter pages. But mm-hmm. like, the one of the, like I said earlier, these are things that like normal people deal with all the time. Mm-hmm. It's just that with us, it usually touches like every single part of our life. And like, it's comforting to know that there's other people who like feel those exact same things almost in the exact same words, you know what I'm saying? So like if you struggle with any of that kind of stuff that I've been talking about, like go do some reading, because this is how I got started on it. Like, go do some reading. You know what I'm saying? If like you think you need some help, then go reach out for some help. You know what I'm saying? The thing about ADHD is like self-diagnosis. Like, even though people don't really like to use that term, like it's almost a necessity, especially when you're already grown. You know what I mean? Because nobody is going to say anything to you about you need to go get checked. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
So I wouldn't say. I would say with myself, I know when I was in the time I noticed there was something happening that I was not in control over. I was in algebra class and my teacher was talking. I'm trying to pay attention. I literally can't. Like, my brain starts wandering off somewhere else and I can't catch what she's saying, but I need to catch what she's saying because with math, one thing falls on top of the other.
Yeah.
But I can't do it because my brain is in a million different places all at once and then nowhere.
Yeah.
And then by the time I'm able to realize, okay, I'm doing the thing, she's already said 4 or 5 different sentences that I have literally now missed. And now nothing she's saying right now makes sense. And that, like I said, that's a small example, but for the most part, as an adult, the thing that I've had a hard time doing is, and Mimi, you know, I always have my headphones on at work.
Yes. Yes.
I have to. If I don't, I'm already slightly uncomfortable by a lot of people around me in general. I'm super hard when I'm trying to wind down to actually wind down without having something to kind of a focus on. Because if I'm not, my brain goes 1,000 miles per hour and I'm not able to actually relax. And when you're trying to relax and you're getting anxiety about trying to relax when you know you're trying to do that because you know the rest of your day is going to be chock full of things that aren't going to relax you.
Yeah.
That's how anxiety works, ain't it?
Yeah,
Like, you
and
can't
then-
like you try to do something to like calm it down, but you doing something flares it up.
Yes. Or like worrying about it.
Yeah.
So it's like a weird
like
self
worrying
loop.
about something is even doing something as small as worrying about something. Worrying about it is like doing something. You know what I mean? Like, it's that sensitive.
Yep.
And then your brain can only hold but some, like, big thing. My mother always gets on to me. I've gotten a little bit better with it, but it's still forgetting small things. When you remember a lot of other things, here's another thing. When people don't realize that there's like an issue going on, people just assume that you're being absent-minded and that you don't, like, it's on purpose. Versus it being, this is slightly out of my control because I'm literally thinking about so many other things that I can't hold that one thing that's not bare essential. Like the one time I think my mother may have realized it was an issue was it was like some banana pudding. I had it in my this. I know it's trivial, but I had it in my head that I wanted to get it before I left her house.
Yeah.
I went through my check, was talking about other things. Completely like I wanted that banana pudding, and it wasn't just as simple as I forgot. It's that there were 1,000 other things that went through my mind
Yeah.
between the time of wanting the banana pudding and that's why trying to find a balance or focus and trying to go to bed at night, almost forget about it.
Yeah.
That shit is awful for me.
Yeah.
Like nights are awful. It's almost so bad that I almost just chalk it up like this is not going to be a great night. I'm going to toss and turn. I'm going to think about all the stuff that happened today. I'm going to think about all the stuff that's happened in the past, and I'm going to think about all the stuff that's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
And it's not going. But I just realized like this may just be my lot in life.
Yeah.
And as an adult, it only gets worse. It doesn't get better. Like I noticed that part. It's like when I was a teenager, I had a lot less stuff to think about or do.
Yeah.
So it was easier. Life was simpler. When you're an adult, you have a lot more responsibilities and a lot more things that you can't neglect or let
Right.
down.
You have real bad anxiety, my friend. Like horrible.
Yeah, but like I said, it's something that you deal with. And it's something that everybody deals with. And also said, I'm glad that you're talking about it. I'm glad that a lot of people are talking about it because not everybody makes the assumption that everybody's built the same. Unfortunately, even though, because people do stuff and you're like, why the hell did they do that?
Yeah.
I do that.
Yeah.
But you don't know what's behind, the situation.
At a certain point, you got to stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you like see somebody like, I don't know. If you see somebody walking through a parking lot and like there's a car trying to pull into a space, right? And the car is moving and the person is looking dead at the car as they walk in front of the joint, you'll be sitting there thinking like, why did they do that? Mm-hmm. And I don't think there would be any like discrepancy as to like how not smart that was, right? Mm-hmm. Right. But if that same person was like blind, like, and you couldn't see him from behind, mm-hmm. Like, I kind of see what you're saying there. Yeah. And that's literally what happens. Cause like, again, these are things with the disorder specifically, with ADHD, these are things that everybody deals with like on a daily basis. The real differentiating factor is like how many different parts of your life that it touches and how deeply it affects it. You know what I mean? Like for me, like I had a piece of cake this morning, right? I was going to eat a piece of cake for breakfast and that shit was going to be bomb, right? A piece of cake. I had a cup of tea that I brewed. I had a bottle of water. Then I have, my backpack and my camera bag that I bring with me and shit. And like, the only thing I brought out the house with me was the camera bag because I was having such a turned around rough morning this morning. You know what I'm saying? Like, kept running in and back and forth from one bedroom to the other, to the kitchen, to the bathroom. Like, I brushed my teeth and then thinking about which medicine I forgot to take and then go in the kitchen to make sure I got my water bottle sitting on the console where my keys are so I don't forget it.
You just did my banana pudding story.
Yep.
You just did my banana pudding story.
That's exactly what I thought of it. Yeah, it's the same exact thing. So like, and that's like a everyday thing for me, medicine or not. Mm. You know what I'm saying? Like the medicine helps me regulate it. But like, shit, it sucks sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and I think for anyone who deals with any kind of disorder, really, it's not just ADHD, but really
just mental health disorder, like any of these kind of like things that affect like your daily, like the way you process and do things every day.
Right. It's important to remember that it's not just a simple matter of just pay attention. Just get your shit together.
That's like the least helpful thing anyone can say.
And it's not a simple matter of, I just need to get it under control. I just need to deal with it on my own. There are times where when you're dealing with stuff like this, you can't. And there's nothing wrong with knowing that you can't do it on your own.
That word control is important because like it's not like it's an unhealthy thing to go into it thinking that you can control it because you can't.
Because you can't.
It has to be managed.
Right. And it's not there's no shame in first of all admitting I have things that I cannot control on my own. And it's also important to just remember that you're not alone and there are communities out there, there are professionals out there who can help you. First of all, get you in the direction of what is going on with me, first of all, finding a direction in where you need to be focusing anyway, and then taking the steps that are necessary to help you either get over your issue or manage your issue, because many of these issues are lifelong. You don't just get over them. You have to
work
find a system that helps you manage them. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean that you're broken. It doesn't mean that you're damaged goods. It simply means that your brain and your body function differently than someone else. And just because I might be able to control my thoughts and my emotions and regulate stuff on my own, it doesn't mean that I am an example of a unbroken person. It just simply means that my brain works differently than your all's brains do, than my husband or my sister or any of our clients. There's nothing wrong with finding a community to help you with your issues. Absolutely not at all. And I think with you guys being able to talk about this kind of stuff, it's just more, it's wiping more of that stigma away of there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me.
Because if the two of us know anything about like the folks that we grew up around, mainly these kind of folks here, is that like we because of certain, like, honestly it comes out of necessity, but like we have a problem discussing and dealing with mental health because like mental health has always been seen as a if you're having
Weakness.
if you're having a mental health issue, you're weak. You're having a weakness, and you can't show that.
Oh,
know
you
what I'm saying?
crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
or
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
you
Or
crazy,
that.
or you too soft and need to toughen up, or
Right.
whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
So acknowledge that you may be dealing with something and you can't do it alone, and that's fine.
It's cool to ask for help.
It's
There's
all
communities
right.
of people out there for most of all the things that you're dealing with. You just got to go look for them.
Yep.
It may not be like close in proximity. You may have to dig a little bit to find who you're trying to get a hold of, but like folks are out there.
Exactly.
What's
So
your word for the week, Mimi?
So to close everything up with the word of the week, I was worried earlier that Wally had seen the word, but he didn't.
I didn't.
The letter of the week is V, and the word is varicella.
Varicella.
Varicella. Varicella. Actually, any of my doctors or virologists listening out there, you may know this word already.
But does that have to
It's a
do with something with
microorganism.
cells?
Technically, yes.
Is it a microorganism?
Yes.
Because before you even said that, there are certain words that are similar within what we do, and so that's why I was like,
But yeah. Varicella.
Varicella. Is something inside the human body?
Yes.
it's just.
I mean, it's not supposed to be there, but it is something that can be in the human body.
like a bacteria.
No, it is not a bacteria.
Okay, what is it?
A varicella.
Varicella.
It's like a catalyst for a virus or something, or some kind of nasty something.
You're close. Do you tap out?
That.
Yeah, I think I'm.
Because like I said, I know it's something to do, organically, but I wasn't sure what exactly.
Varicella is chickenpox.
Oh yes. Okay, I've heard that word before. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Varicella is chickenpox.
that varicella towed me up, boy. Let me tell you, when I was like 4, I was all in the oatmeal baths and everything.
Oh, I remember those. I had chickenpox once. My poor sister, had it twice.
Ooh.
Because
I
the
had it
first
twice.
time, very mild case, very mild, and then that shit came back with a
Yeah, the
vengeance.
second
bro.
time was.
My younger
Oh
sister,
my
lucky, because
God.
they had come out with the vaccine not too long before she entered kindergarten or whatever age.
Yep.
yeah,
So she got it early, but like me and my brother had it bad.
I think our generation was the last to have like pox parties.
Yeah.
I had. I don't remember taking the oatmeal bath for that, but I had the hives,
Yeah.
and I had to take an oatmeal bath with that. That wasn't cool.
It's not fun. I wouldn't wish that on anybody. Chickenpox sucks.
Yeah, I remember
for
I
real.
had chicken pox when we went down to Georgia.
Oh man.
12 hours in the car.
Oh, no.
Oh my God. Just
Oof.
itching like Smokey and Friday. I was in the chicken coop.
See, now I'm starting to itch thinking about it.
yeah.
Anyway, so that's our show for the week. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us. For those of you who are watching us on YouTube, please click like and subscribe and share this. And for those of us who are listening on our podcast, please give us some commentary. We want to hear
She's being
from
too
you.
nice. Hey, listen. I see a lot of freaking views on these videos. I don't see enough subscribers. It takes 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, and it takes even fewer seconds to hit the like button. Do both.
You know how long it takes somebody to decide they not going to subscribe because the guy on the screen is being an asshole? Not that long either.
Even shorter?
Anyway, we'll see you guys next
before
week.
we go though, can like everybody just like plug their social media right quick? Cause like we got stuff going on, you know what I'm saying?
Good
like
point. Good point.
yeah, so
Does she need to plug hers?
oh, she's famous. Yeah, that's right. You might find hers on the Explore page.
I know, right?
Popping up.
Right
I
next
have
to
an
Cutie Pie
IMDb
or
now.
something. Yeah. Like, shoot, I don't know
But-
if she needs it. But you
In
go
that
ahead.
vein, yeah, go ahead, Mimi. Plug yourself.
TikTok. You can find me on TikTok at Massage Pro 2021.
Blowing up.
Yeah, yo. So
What about you, Mustang?
yeah, y'all should follow me on Instagram at Mustang_Wally. It's a hodgepodge of fun content.
A little something for everybody.
No, I'm tripping, but yeah, that's where I post all like my whatever I feel like it, whether it's music or just anything I'll be working on.
Oh, speaking of music, I'm debating something, writing like a 16 or something.
Hey, we in there. We in there.
No, but here's the thing, Wally. Here's the thing. The thing about it is, I have specific stuff I want to talk about, but then I don't want to get in trouble. See, because that's the thing. It's like I can only keep it real, but like that you only live twice beat been calling to me, man.
Hey, look, do your thing, and if it needs some working, like if it absolutely needs some working, because like dog, you just
don't give me the green light because I'll write to
that's the thing. Like you need the green light. Take the green light. Do it right. Just do it.
How can people find you, Big J?
Yeah.
How can people find you?
Hey, listen, all I want is for everybody to follow us at Two Guys and a Girl on Instagram. And that's just kind of where I'm at with it. I want to make sure that, this becomes, a big thing. And we're always putting up music. We're always putting up clips of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully at some point we'll put some behind the scenes stuff on there. So like a little couple of live videos while waiting for Wally.
They're gonna be them sitting down at a table reading a newspaper or some shit with reading glasses on their nose.
Because real talk, me and Mimi have really good conversations before
the show.
Even while we're waiting on Wally, so we may let you in on a couple of those.
Absolutely.
So but everybody have a great weekend. Stay safe.
Yep.
Yes.
And